doesn't seem too long ago when Kia was regarded as one of the new kids on the block. And let's face it, they didn't exactly make waves with their earlier models, despite being relatively affordable. It also didn't help that back then, Korean cars were deemed inferior compared to Japanese brands. So what did they do? Well, with the help of world-renowned car designer Peter Schreier, they set out to reinvent themselves. And they now have an extremely decent lineup. But just as things were looking up for Kia, along came even more competition from China, with manufacturers offering heaps of tech and features that even brand snobs would find hard to ignore. So today we take a look at the Kia Seltos to see if it still has the goods to remain competitive.
Hi everyone, my name is Julius sales consultant of Kia Mandaluyong. Come visit us here at Unit 5833 Sheridan Street, Greenfield District, Mandaluyong City. For more inquiries, you can call me at 0905-194-7138. Thank you and hope to see you soon.
In this world where all cars are starting to look the same, with oversized grills and sleek headlights, it's really nice to see Kia go against the grain. Now that's usually a risky move, but I think many would agree that Kia nailed it. For the SX trim, it's an LED affair for all the lights. On the EX, you also get LEDs and DRLs with a halogen fog lamp. And on this LX model, you get projector headlamps. All variants come with Kia's signature tiger nose grille. Along the side, I'm having trouble deciding if this leans towards the conservative or radical design spectrum, because it's not overdone. And like the front, it's really unique. And in that regard, it really stands out. You'll find black body cladding that I think is tastefully executed. And you get these 17-inch wheels across all variants. And a belt line that rises towards the end to give this quarter glass a triangular look. It also gives the side profile a floating roof design. At the back, you get these LED combination tail lamps that I think were designed with so much enthusiasm that they forgot about the reverse lights and said, oh well, we can always put it here. This rear spoiler is a really nice touch though. Overall, I think the Kia Seltos is quite a looker. It's proof that a subcompact SUV can still turn heads. Now let's see if the interior is just as good. The subcompact SUV segment is a tricky one to get right. Why do I say that? Well, the reasons why sedans are a dying breed and SUVs are selling like hotcakes is because people want more of everything. More space, more comfort, more tech, more ground clearance. And when you try to squeeze all that in to a subcompact SUV, it can get pretty tricky. Simply said, there are more limitations. But sitting inside the Seltos, you can tell that ergonomics, functionality, and good design was the key priority. You have a simple layout, everything is within reach and easy to figure out. The choice of materials lean more towards the durable side. To be completely honest, some of the Chinese competitors offer fancier interiors, but that's not to say that this is bland or boring. So this may not have all the features in the world, and there are hard plastics here and there, but overall, it still feels quite premium in here. The switchgear also feels solid and robust. And then there's the functionality. For starters, there's this infotainment screen, which may not have the biggest screen by today's standards, but it's so easy to use and has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay as standard across all variants. And I love the fact that there are physical buttons, which makes operating it more intuitive, especially while driving. The instrument cluster consists of an analog tachometer and speedometer. But you get a 3.5-inch multi-information display that shows useful info such as trip info, fuel mileage, and a digital readout of your speed. So again, it's not the fanciest thing out there, but it gets the job done, and it does it quite well. Along the center console, you get a conventional gear selector and handbrake, which I personally don't mind. And look, you also have this drive mode selector. There's also adequate storage for your gadgets, drinks, and whatnot. As far as comfort and driving position is concerned, these seats are extremely comfortable, and it's really easy to find your ideal driving position, thanks to the availability of height adjustment on the driver's seat and a tilt and telescopic steering column. So only the SX trim gets automatic climate control, but I'm not complaining because the AC controls on the LX and EX models are nice to the touch and are extremely intuitive. You also get two 12-volt sockets and a USB port. Now let's go check out the back. At the back, there are some goodies left to be desired, such as rear air vents, charge ports, and even a center armrest. There isn't even a pocket at the back of these seats for the LX model. But where the Seltos excels is in terms of space. There's just heaps of room back here. This is one of the biggest and roomiest in its class, and that doesn't come as a surprise given its exterior dimensions. So in terms of comfort, I really love the fact that my thighs are firmly planted on these seats, which comes in really handy for a long drive. And there's also a lot of room underneath the seats for my feet, so I can really stretch out. And besides that, there's just heaps of legroom and headroom. So what more can you ask for? Another bonus is the fact that you don't sit too upright. I can actually recline these seats a fair bit to make it even cozier. In terms of cargo room, the Seltos offers 433 liters of trunk space, which extends to 866 liters with the rear seats folded. Under the hood, you get a double overhead cam 2-liter inline 4, which pumps out 147 horsepower and 179 newton meters of torque. And this is mated to their intelligent variable transmission, which they claim won't feel like a CVT. But I'm not willing to take their word for it, so I think it's time to go out for a drive. So we're out with the Kia Seltos on this rainy afternoon. And I want to start by talking about the transmission. So what exactly is an IVT? Kia's intelligent variable transmission. Is it just some marketing mumbo jumbo or a CVT with a fancy name? Well, essentially it is. But the difference is the IVT's pulley system, it varies the pressure it applies based on your throttle inputs. And what that does is it eradicates the rubber band effect that's inherent on run-of-the-mill CVTs. So when you accelerate, there's no droning. In a nutshell, what the IVT does is it always makes sure that the sound of the engine is in sync with the vehicle's speed. Now, some would insist that the IVT is really just another fancy name for a CVT. And technically, this is a CVT. But this is one of the best driving CVTs out there, at least based on all the cars I've driven. And I've driven a lot of CVTs in my time. Now let's talk about power delivery. So when you put your foot down, it takes a split second for the car to respond. But I like the fact that the power band is towards the tail end of the rev range. Now others prefer peak power and peak torque to come in early on because that makes the car feel lighter. But if you're an aggressive driver, you'd really appreciate the power coming in on the top end because the car feels faster and faster as you floor the gas. And that really equates to more fun behind the wheel. Okay, so let's talk about steering. And the steering on the Kia Seltos is pretty light. So it makes maneuvering a breeze. But what I like about it is that it actually gives a decent amount of feedback. So the wheels don't feel disconnected and you can always tell where the wheels are pointing. And that is always a good thing. And I'd have to say that riding and driving this thing is fantastic. It's a pleasant experience. And what leads to that? Well, one, the seats are really comfortable. My thighs are firmly planted. I have a great commanding view of the road. The visibility is spot on. And then there's the NVH, and it's extremely quiet in here. It really doesn't feel like you're in a subcompact. It really feels like you're in something bigger and more luxurious. And what also adds to the pleasant riding experience is the suspension. So it's a bit on the stiff side, but it still provides a very decent ride. By no means is it jarring. And what I like about it is that it makes the car feel absolutely planted. So you can corner this thing with utmost confidence. Now, I've said this before, but I'm gonna say it again. Because the Kia Seltos is a testament to the fact that you shouldn't always rely on the brochure or spec sheet when you're buying a vehicle. You should take it on a test drive because the brochures or spec sheets, they'll never be able to convey how good this thing is to drive. And if you do take this for a test drive, I'm absolutely certain that you'll be impressed. Prices for the Kia Seltos starts below 1.1 million pesos, and it may not have all the features found in some of the competition, but in terms of space, comfort, and functionality, this can even rival SUVs above its weight class. And with that said, there's no reason why this can't cope or even beat the competition.